What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner Channel January Transfer Window News Show. A forensic look at all the players linked with a move to and from the Emirates this January transfer window. And we're more than halfway through. And so far, like every show I've done, it's been mostly rumours, gossip, and just us being linked with a whole bevy of players, particularly up front, because wherever you look, the narrative is that unless we sign a goal-scoring sensation in this window, our chances of winning the league are out the window. I'm not sure how good our chances of winning the league would be even if we did sign some of these players. But look, it is true to say that Arsenal are not scoring in the way that we've been used to in the last year. And as much as I know people don't like to talk about XG, we have been completely underperforming in terms of the goal-scoring chances we've had versus those we've taken. So, of course, it's the easiest thing in the world to say it's because our players don't know how to score goals. The fact that they broke records last season in scoring 88 goals seems to have gone unnoticed. The obvious answer is that none of these players can return to the form they had. Before we get to today's gossip, and it is just gossip, I want to readdress this point because last season we scored 88 goals. They were contributed across the pitch. Jesus had his injuries but still scored. Saka and Martinelli weighed in, Odegaard weighed in, and even Granit Xhaka scored 7 goals. We didn't seem to have any problems at all scoring. Where we had problems was in defensive positions, and that was a bigger surprise to me. We did sign Jurriën Timber, and it's really unfortunate he's been out. That threw us through a loop a little bit. I was really surprised we didn't go out in the end of the summer transfer window and sign a supplemental defender, because for most of the season we've been playing with 6 defenders. At the moment we don't really have anyone who can play at left back. It seems Zinchenko is still injured and won't be fit for the game against Palace. But the speculation has mostly been around strikers, and for me, I think there's 2 options here. One, you do what Arteta has been talking about, which is you get the players who've taken us this far back into some kind of form. Before they went away to Dubai, it looked sluggish, they looked tired, fatigued. I think it felt to me, and it's just speculation, it felt to me like they were holding out for this break. I think Arteta is a young manager and he's learning as he goes. I do feel he's come a very long way in a short space of time, and he's brought us to a place that we should all be really excited about. If we don't win the league this season, of course that's going to be a disappointment like it was last season. But I do still see progress, and I'm still 100% behind Arteta. It really comes down to now how well that warm weather training went in Dubai. My hope is that he brought the team together and reminded them of what they're capable of. And that this blip that we faced in the West Ham and Fulham game, where we had plenty of chances against West Ham, it's a mystery that we didn't win that game. We played much worse against Fulham. But overall, these blips happen. They happen to City as well. It seems to me too radical to want to bring in new players and get rid of players and suddenly discard Jesus and as if he hasn't had any positive impact at all. And throughout the window, I've been really worried that there was some truth in the fact that we're after Ivan Toney, because I don't see him as an upgrade. I don't see him as a world-class player. I could be wrong. I'll be the first to say it if he does go on to become one of the world's best strikers. But one really good season in the Premier League with Brentford does not make him a £100 million player, in my opinion. And as we've seen with all of the clubs so far in this window, everybody's a little bit tentative in spending a lot of money that they're then possibly going to get punished for in points. Today's speculation, though, is one of the stories that I kind of hope is true. That is it, though. It's just pure hope. Alexander Isak, who played really well at Real Sociedad, was linked with a move to Arsenal. I really wanted him to come to Arsenal, but we opted for Gabby Jesus, and I think that was a sensible move. Of course, in his first season with Newcastle, he scored 10 goals from 16 appearances, had a few injury problems, but showed in glimpses at least what he's capable of. And this season, I really like Alexander Isak. I think he's technically good, he's strong, he's young, and he's got an eye for goal. But he also is a team player. He's the kind of player that, looking from outside in at Newcastle, he seems to be a player that's very popular with the other players and a real team player. And so the reason we're being linked with him, again, comes down to profit and sustainability. Newcastle currently don't look like they're going to make the Champions League. And so if they are going to enhance the squad in other areas where they're sure, players have to go out. And so some of the jewels in the crown of the Newcastle team are being speculated about. And one of them is Bruno Guimaraes, who I've seen linked with Arsenal. Personally, ever since his forearm smash into Jorginho, I really don't like him. and I think I could get over that. He is a strong midfielder. He's a progressive ball carrier. He's got a great pass in him, and he's got maybe a bit of nastiness, which I suppose every team does need. Personally, I don't want him to come to Arsenal for the kind of money he would. But Alexander Isak, the other Newcastle player, I absolutely would love to see him come to Arsenal. Is it possible that Newcastle would give up a player who's in the kind of goal-scoring form he is, who's popular with the team in the way that he seems to be, and is a fan's favourite? I just can't see it. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Let me know if you think Alexander Isak is coming to Arsenal. But for me, this is just another one of those pull a name out of the hat and link him with Arsenal. Of course, would Alexander Isak come in and improve our squad? Yes. And fundamentally, he is a far better player than Eddie Nketiah. If we could sell Eddie Nketiah to Crystal Palace for 35 million, how much money would it take to get Isak from Newcastle? I know they're short of money, but surely we wouldn't be the only club in for him. There's some speculation linking him with a big move to, say, Real Madrid, which I think ultimately is the kind of level that he's going to achieve. Would it be possible that we would be the only team coming, we would get him for 60 or 70 million? Certainly, if it did take 100 million, if we had 100 million to spend on a striker and it came down to Ivan Toney or Isak, I'm Isak all day, every day. I am a huge fan of his and I love watching him play football, which is also true of Gabby Jesus, by the way. And I think we all need to take a deep breath. I know that much was made of the interview that Gabby Jesus did where he talked about how goal scoring wasn't his main thing. But Dennis Bergkamp said the same thing. It never held him back. Some of these players that play up front are more about the team scoring goals. Maybe you do need an Ian Wright type player. In fact, actually, it reminds me, Thierry Henry said the same thing. He said he wasn't particularly bothered about scoring goals himself, which is ridiculous when you think about how good he was at it. But it wasn't the be-all and end-all. Some footballers are very much team players and they care about how the team does. Most really good strikers would rather score a hat-trick and lose than not score and win. I think Isak is not one of those. And I think if we signed him and he didn't start explosively and there weren't huge numbers of goals or game-changing goals, then the pressure would be on and it would look like a bad move. A bit like it did when we first signed Bergkamp. I honestly just can't see how Newcastle would countenance losing a potentially superstar player like this for anything less than 80 or 90 million. And on that basis, with nothing advanced so far, I think the earliest that could be potentially possible is in the summer transfer window. And I'm certainly not going to hold my breath. But I will continue to enjoy watching him play football. As for the rest of this transfer window, I'd really like to see us linked with more defenders. Because if it's true that Cedric is on his way out, well, we have 6 defenders at the moment. He's one of them. I know he hasn't had any game time. Clearly, Arteta doesn't rate him any more than the rest of us do. But to have 5 defenders, one's in the Asian Cup, leaves you obviously exposed. Perhaps we're going to see Raul Walters play. Perhaps we're going to see some academy players develop. Because if there is a criticism of Mikel Arteta, it's that in his entire tenure at Arsenal, he has not developed a single academy player. And that is surprising given just how good Hale End has been at producing talent. We know that Patino's at Swansea. There's been talk of Juventus interested in him. We have some players who could come in, I think. Chief among those is Raul Walters, who was talked about at the end of last season as getting game time and still hasn't. But if we are going to spend this January transfer window, then whilst I know that everybody wants to see us bring in a striker or a midfielder, these are areas we do have players in. If the players we have are suddenly not good enough, and I don't believe that to be the case, then you need to buy 4 or 5 players. I think we're about 4 players short of the squad we really need. Because we have El Neni, because we have Cedric Suarez in there at the moment, because we have players out with injury. Of course, Thomas Partey could come back. Jurrien Timber could come back. We don't really want to sign players that get in their way. I think, for me, the area we really need to strengthen is in defence. And I would like to see us linked with more defenders. Unless we are going to bring through Raul Walters and 1 or 2 other academy players, we certainly need the cover. Today we were linked with Rayan A. Nouri, who is Wolverhampton Wanderers left back, playing really well, 22 years old, Algerian international. Certainly somebody that would provide cover for Zinchenko. They're not that dissimilar actually, although Nouri plays far more on that left-hand side. He doesn't come inside as much. I don't know how much there is to this one either. There was speculation that we might send Jakob Kivior the other way. Personally, Whether you like Jakub Kiwior or not, I think we have too few players to be sending any defenders out there unless we bring in a couple. And given that it's halfway through the transfer window, I linked last week with Jorel Hato, the Ajax defender, 17 years old, really talking about that in summer. Summer's a long way away. I think all of the publications that are out there at the moment linking us with players in summer, it's not of interest to me. But do I think Nuri will come? I'm going to keep a close eye on it. I could see us being really interested in. There's also supposed to be huge interest in Neto, another player that I think could be a really good signing for Arsenal. But they don't seem very far advanced, and just how much truth there is to any of these, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if there's any defenders that you would like to see us linked with, or that you've got your eye on that you think could come in and do a great job. At the moment, I think it is just about bodies. But today's big news that Alexander Isak might be on his way to Arsenal. I'm not trying to pour cold water on it, but how realistic is it? No price is linked. And do Newcastle really need to sell in this January transfer window? Are they likely to bring anyone in this January transfer window? I think the answer to all these is no. So my fingers are crossed, but it's not going to happen, is it? Let me know in the comments if you're disappointed about that. If you are frustrated by this transfer window, then I just want to leave you with the idea that, look, the players we have not become bad players overnight. They have goals in them. We scored 88 last season. We could just be going through a mini blip. I don't think there's a bigger crisis. I've seen a lot of people saying we're missing Granit Xhaka, that Kai Havertz wasn't an upgrade on Granit Xhaka. I don't think he was ever intended to be. I think Declan Rice was the upgrade on Granit Xhaka, and he's certainly that. And had we had Thomas Partey fit, and you can say, well, look, why expect Thomas Partey to fit? He's never fit. And that's now something we're saying about Tomiyasu as well. These are players who didn't have injury problems before they came to Arsenal. Was it unrealistic to expect Thomas Partey to be fit? I don't know. I think he's coming back. Just how quickly he comes back is hard to say at this point. He's not going to be playing against Palace, that's for sure. But defenders, please. Could the journalists out there please start picking defenders for us to be linked with? And anyway, I'm not particularly fussed. If we don't go out there and sign a marquee signing this January, I have confidence in the team that's been assembled up till now. I really like watching Gabby Jesus play. I really enjoy when we're playing well. I think the bigger problem we're facing is how to break down teams that defend very deep against us. And that's a problem that we're going to have to work out, probably without Ivan Toney or Alexander Isak or Kylian Mbappe, for that matter. Anyway, that's been your January transfer window gossip. Until I see you tomorrow, don't forget to hit the subscribe. You know the drill. Like if you like the video. It means the world to me. Until I see you tomorrow, be lucky. Lots of love.
I love Arsenal Football Club so much. Pretty much first thing I do every morning when I wake up is I'm going to go on the channel now. Oh, baby, yeah. It's about the best thing there is on the YouTube. And I like it more than cheeseburgers. And I love cheeseburgers. The Gooner channel is 100% dedicated to the Arsenal, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen.